Hey everyone, before we dive right into the action, I wanted to let you know that I stream these things on Twitch, and if you wanna hang out with me while I'm live, you can follow the channel, will be the first link in the description. We're getting the black pieces, opponent opening up with Queen Spawn, gonna be doing the Fianchetto, and then we'll basically adjust according to what he does. And how funny, we're running against our beloved London system, so just gonna go for the Fianchetto, and it's also a Jobava land, which is even more interesting. So we could go d5 and go back into the Grunfeld, but just gonna be doing the Little King's Indian thing and see if they wanna like advance in the center with d4 or not. And there you have it. We see it on the board. Just gonna go like knight f6, and there's actually like many ways to play this position after queen d2. Like a pretty tricky one could be c6 followed by queen a5, just delaying short castle and making it basically harder for your opponent to attack you on the king side. But I'm feeling pretty thirsty here, and I'm gonna see whether my opponent can get a bite here with the attack. So just gonna go like c6, and you can think about this as a pirk. It is a pirk indeed. We have basically got to it by like transposition, but for sake of simplicity, I'm calling it everything like a King's Indian, everything that has like King Fianchetto. So bishop h6, precise move, like h4 potentially allows h5, and attack will be slower, so this is important. I'll just do my thing here with b5 and threatening to go b4 and win the e4 pawn. So I think trading is like a little bit premature. And okay, opponent just pushes in the center with e5 and he plays this immediately. It's almost like he's prepared. That's like not fair. For I'm the only one allowed to have prep, but opponent plays everything instantly, so I don't know what to believe. Pirk without knight f3? Yes, it's like possible. Like in the Pirk, you know, if you start like d4, d6, e4, knight f6, knight c3, they are not forced to put the knight on f3. They can play bishop e3, queen d2, long castle as well. So that's definitely can be called as a Pirk. Don't want to really make this too much of an, let's say, opening name discussion. I honestly think it's really pointless to know what the openings are called. It's important just to know how to play the positions. Also had like a pretty funny talk with a friend that's like looking at the E4 courses. His name is Kevin, and he was asking me why did I name the hyper accelerated dragon. It's named as the only accelerated dragon in my course. So like these kind of questions, I would say like, okay, that was of course like a fun topic to discuss with him, but in general, it's just like pointless to bother too much with understanding what is something called or why is it called that way. Just important to know how to play the goddamn positions, you know. So 97, attacking this pawn. Not sure. Maybe knight g4 could have been better. I just went for like safer alternative. I would guess that the end games are like pretty balanced. Like normally black is just fine in the end game, so that's why normally white is not really supposed to allow the end games. But it's gonna be like pretty interesting. Also, white has a relatively simple play. I could go bishop g4, but then the bishop could be a bit pointless in case of knight d4. So I have a feeling like on b7 it has more perspective when we potentially push c5. So not entirely sure how to start this, because I have a feeling he might also make this move, and if I start with knight d7 then he could play knight d4 and my knights are like a bit stuck. Need to come up with like a precise way to develop here. Could start bishop or bishop f5. Okay, I think I'll do this move. It might look like a bit insane, but on knight e4 idea is to go bishop f5, and on anything else had in mind to go c5, and in case of knight e4 then could play either knight d7 or c4. We managed to push the pawn at least. So Gonna go c5. Not sure if this is like any good, but just trying to create some play. Get the bishop developed, and I think that we're actually like pretty comfortable. The opponent has the open file, but of course open files are like super important in general, but you have to understand like an open file is useful when you can do something with it. So like in this position, let's say we're controlling all the squares from our camp. Actually, the fact that he has the open file is irrelevant. It doesn't matter. So he plays rook d8. That's like an okay move. We can definitely trade everything and play knight c6, but I think I would like to keep a pair of rooks on the board. Just usually like keeping a pair of rooks will make it much easier to outplay your opponent. Like if you trade everything, it's most likely gonna be pretty hard to win, and you'll get into a drawing situation. So with a pair of rooks is definitely still outplay potential, or also potential for myself to get outplayed. So could also go both ways. But yeah, I think knight e4 should be a move, and then c4, knight c5. Perhaps I'll have to play bishop c8. Rook on g4. I'm thinking, yeah, actually not sure. Not an easy position to play at all. Maybe just knight before bringing it to d5. Question is, probably my opponent wants to play with like f5, doesn't he? I think that's the plan. So could also think about f6 and maybe try to take advantage of the f file in like any way. Not really liking that though, feels a bit weakening. Any chance bishop c8 could be a good move? Then he just plays h3. So yeah, I think I kind of like knight b4, f5, and just knight d5. Can't really come up with like a better idea now, so I'll just do the maneuver, bring the knight towards d5, and if they go f5, I mean, that's fine, I guess. Just bring the knight, and he takes some space, but not really seeing what he can do with the extra space, and we managed to centralize the knight in the meantime, which should definitely be an improvement to our position. And okay, on a3, just gonna be playing knight e5, trading a pair of knights, hitting f4, threatening knight e3 ideas as well. I think definitely a3 is something that's helping us. Now he will most likely go f5, but I'm wondering, aren't we like winning material after knight f4? I think that this looks pretty juicy. Targeting the bishop, and on rook d2 we just take and pick up the knight, and on king d2 I'm wondering if there's like rook d8 check. Might still not be winning, but looks definitely very appealing. I think we're at least like not worse there, so that's a good starting point. Could actually go into an endgame where we're playing against with knight against bishop, but knight g1 is actually a decent move. But I think we can just get to win a pawn now with takes and bishop f3. I don't think there's like anything else, so just gonna take, gonna bring the bishop, pin everything, and has to play like rook d2. I would say it's best move, and collect the free pawn. Still like not gonna be a super trivial win, but I think we're definitely getting into like the winning territory. And okay, rook e1 is like a bit worse because it was better on d2 to keep control of this file. Now we're just taking on g4. Pretty interesting to take this way, but I think just keeping it standard, preparing ideas to target the weak pawn on h2, keeping also all the pawns together, just having a super nice and compact pawn structure. Pretty powerful strategy in general. We can say it's underrated. Just gonna go rook h8, threatening to take on h2. Doesn't really have an easy way to defend, like rook g1, probably just bishop f5, rook g2, and then we get to activate rook h4, hitting the knight. If rook f2, rook g4, maybe rook g1. Could also consider bringing the king. Many interesting ideas. So we're having the extra pawn. We're definitely getting into like the technical phase of this game. I would say if we trade rooks, it most of the time should be an immediate win for us with bishop against knight. It's basically like a king and pawn endgame. I think you can think about it that way. And yeah, I think honestly his best chance would be to hold in like the rook endgames, but with such weak pawns, I see it pretty unlikely. So has to stay super passive with rook f2. Then okay, could actually just even think about e6, stopping knight d5, just not allowing any counterplay. Maybe should have done it on like previous move. Maybe now knight d5 could be annoying. But okay, on knight e2, I think we have this move, and to me it just looks like we're picking up another pawn. So with like the two extra pawns, it should definitely be like I would say completely winning, but still have to be a bit precise, I guess. But generally with the two extra pawns, especially when they are like connected passers, all the rook endgames should be completely winning. So gonna be taking on e5. Idea to maybe go for the check and make room for the pawns. If not, well, could do that. Could step back with a bishop and reposition. Yeah, I think repositioning is fine. Just bishop to d7, changing the diagonal. There was no like much scope there, and you can just do this, hit the rook. Then we just need to like basically move away the rook, and we're gonna be advancing the pawns. That's like next part of the plan. We just need to make room for the passed pawns, and that's gonna be pretty much it. So gonna sidestep any potential tricks on the g file and preparing to launch the pawns, and I think opponent will have a pretty hard time dealing with them. So yeah, on knight e2, guess he's preparing knight f4. Could ignore it, could go rook e4. I think rook e4 is nice, stopping knight f4 and hitting the pawn as well, and setting up a trick in case of rook h1. Take on e2 and win a piece. And on knight g3, I think we can take, but might be even more annoying for my opponent to just pin him. He's never really unpinning, I would say. Yeah, just gonna go for the pin. No need to like take the pawn, and okay, that's like funny, but pawn will protect the rook, so wasn't really gonna work. And opponent finds the resign button, and we managed to get this one in. Thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and in case you're looking for more episodes from the same series, make sure to click one of the videos that will appear on the screen. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.